Can't even do that right now. All the damn kids awake, man. What's going on, everybody? What's good, everybody? We are live right now on YouTube. We're live on Rockfin. Well, no, we will be live on Rockfin. I lied. Okay, now we're live on Rockfin. We're live on Rumble. We are live on Twitter. And make sure that y'all, if you have not yet, make sure y'all like. And the moment you arrive, even if you're watching this later, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because honestly, you'll regret it later if you don't. I'm gonna be honest with you. You will. Everybody else does. Hey, shout out to everybody who came back, because I had a lot of people come back over the last couple of weeks. They were like, "Yo, man, my bad. You were kind of right about those guys. We ain't gonna say no names. You was kind of right about some of this stuff. Yeah, man, it's okay. We all made mistakes, right?" Nick would be one of the experts in the resubscribe category too, man. I'm sure a lot of people come back over the last couple of months. But we back, man. We are back with one of course, my favorite guests and my brother, Niko Cruz from Revolutionary Blackout Network. We stand on business today, guys. Stand on business. You stand on business. You stand on business. What's going on, Nick?
My hotspot assassin, my brother Niko out here, bro. Like, it's so funny when we see people try to do what we do. We talk about this all the time. It's so funny. Like, bro, banger after banger. Like, and I love the schedule because our time zones are off. So, like, our videos release like a few hours apart, which I think is a good strategy. Yeah. It's very rare that our videos like release like back to back. So it's like Niko banger, then Nick banger, then Niko. Bro. Overwhelming. The algorithm, they want to suppress us, Niko, but they can't. Like, just overwhelming.
Yeah, bro, they be trying, though. They'll come back and they be trying to switch us up. Like, sometimes, like, some weeks they'll suppress your ass, but then like I break through. Then the next week it'll switch. You can't stop us both. You can't stop us both, man. Look, I be laughing too, because sometimes because of the time zone difference, so Nick is in Central Time and I'm on Real Time. So Real Time is about an hour ahead of Eastern Time. During this particular season, and then whenever the time changes in Eastern Time, we're actually 2 hours ahead. So sometimes Nick ass be up late whenever the good shit happens, and he get the topic. I'm like, God damn it!
It's all about timing. I'll be talking to I don't want to say her name, but my producer. I'll be like, "Yo, did Niko got the story already?" She's like, "Niko got fuck." Sometimes
I be doing the same thing. I'm like, shit, niggas getting this already. Damn it. All right, whatever, man. I'll find another one. But it's all right though. I'm okay when they get the story, because I know it's gonna be a banger regardless. That's the beautiful thing about the Hotspot team. Y'all make sure that y'all follow us on Hotspot on Twitter and all platforms. On Twitter, it's at Hotspot. I'm gonna start off the show with showing the one I put out yesterday about AOC. And then you put one out too, right? Yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm gonna show both of those. Before we do that, of course, we're gonna do a few quick shout outs in the chat. Like I said, make sure if y'all just not getting here, like the video, share the video. Eric, Huzo, what's going on? He said, I got an idea since when are funding Ukraine since we, I'm assuming, are funding Ukraine into its demise, is now a land without a people for soon to be people without a land. The Israelis. Bonus. They'll be getting the Nazi part. Oh my God. That's a boy. You open up with a savage comment. That's the first comment of the damn day. That's what we on. Okay. I like it. Stace SMR. Hello, everybody. Happy hump day. Yeah. I like the way you think. Happy hump day. Danny Trujillo. What's going on, man? JR Jr. Hey, real quick. We ain't gonna talk about how redundant that is. You just gonna come out here with a JR Jr. All right, man. I'm gonna let it ride, but you didn't even have to type out the junior part. If you was gonna put the JR, we would have got it. But hey, look, minimum characters, I guess. YouTube censored due dissonance video after less than 20 minutes. For real? What was they talking about? Dude, your hairline, the farmer's tan. No, I got psoriasis. It's a mixed person dry skin thing, bro. It just be happening sometimes. That's okay. God had to step in at some point, because when he made me, he was like, bro, okay, I'm gonna make you smart. I'm gonna make you handsome. I'm gonna make you tall. I'm gonna give you athleticism. But here's the deal. I gotta give you psoriasis and dry skin, and you're allergic to fish, even though you live in Miami. Like, you're gonna be allergic to fish. Like in Rio and Miami, like the two worst places to live at if you're allergic to fish. So it was a trade-off that I'm willing to take, to be honest with you, because fish don't even smell that good. So, whatever. So the whole sushi date movement, Nick, that everybody was enjoying that one. I can't do the sushi. I couldn't do the sushi date thing, bro. They were like, you want to go out for sushi? You can go out for sushi and I can watch you eat it. I can't. That's all I got.
I love seafood. So I'm like hurt for you right now, brother. I'm feeling it for you, bro.
I'm saying that shit. They're like, damn, bro. I'm sorry, man. I just lost my puppy. David Martin, what's going on? What's going on? Shanskis, what's going on? Rondo Ellsworth, Mustafa, what's going on? He said JR stand for just right. Man, nah, bro. Your JR stand for junior. Don't be trying to push it up now. Nah, I'm playing with you. But we got an exciting show for you guys today. We got a long and busy show for you guys today. Let me go ahead really quick. Oh, first, before I show that, do you got anything in the mix, Nick, that you need anybody to know about before we get into the business?
Make sure you guys check out Nick at Night yesterday. Last night in RB, if you guys didn't. It was a particularly unhinged stream on my behalf. But I was we talking about war crimes. What you want from me? You know what I mean? We talking about how crazy our stream is. So it was an unhinged stream. I will tell you guys that. But that's what I did last night. I'll be co-hosting Due Distance today after later this afternoon, and I will have Q Anthony Ali on tomorrow for Nick at Night. So quite a busy time at RBN. So after the stream, you guys got a lot to catch up on. Oh,
bro, you got a busy damn day today, don't you, boy? And you know what, though? Nick be handling his business, man. I don't know how he be doing it. I used to be like that too, Nick. Once upon a time, I used to stress myself out all the time. I can't do it no more. Can't do it no more. But you held it down, so it's all right.
I'm losing my tolerance. See, I'm blacklisted from all the mainstream outlets, so I'm only go on my shows with my friends. So I'm like, if Niko and my brother King gonna hit me up, I'm definitely gonna go on the shows. There's so much to talk about. Definitely, it's nothing to me. You know what I mean? So
because at least it's fun.
Yeah,
at least it's fun. Like it'd be hard to do interviews. And I love doing interviews. I love talking to people. And I love learning new things. And I love introducing my audience to new ideas. But the other side is sometimes interviews are just interviews, and it's not that fun for me. And I don't want to do it. Don't get me wrong, everybody. I love this job. I love talking to you people. But I'm sure Nick would agree, bro. This shit is draining. It's depressing.
Yeah.
Having to tell y'all bad news all the fucking time. It is.
Yeah, bro. Nick at Night, like doing this show is dope. You gotta do all the damn work. I'm just here for the fun. Dude, this is gonna be fun, bro. Nick at Night is stressful, bro. I'm going through all this depressing ass shit. I have a ton of anxiety. That's why I smoke on stream, because it help my anxiety. I'll be fucking panicking before the stream. Hope I don't fuck up. Like, I'm not built for this. To me, it's a miracle to actually do this. But I'll be having like these damn near panic attacks before stream. Bro. But then it always go well. I always make myself out. But then at the end of it, I'm fucking exhausted because the look. So I know exactly what you talk about, Niko. I know exactly what you talk about.
I tend to agree with Jimmy. So whenever I've done things live, like in person, shows, conferences, you end up, it's weird. You leave those shows with more energy than when you arrive. But when you're streaming for some reason, you end up feeling more drained. And it could be because those shows, usually everything is like, you're doing everything in advance, like everything's set up and all you gotta do is kind of go there and show out and you're getting the energy from the people. But when you're doing the streams, like, yeah, we see y'all in the comments and that's why we love having y'all converse in the comments and all that good stuff. But bro, by the end of these streams, well, you be drained. I don't give a shit what nobody say. It's a lot. And so shout out to the people that do this every day. Shout out to the people that do this once a week. If you're doing it just once a week, it's a lot. Especially if you're not. A lot of people doing it. Yeah, bro. Like you got people like JB. JB's climbing now, but like JB wasn't getting the audience that he has now. Like when he first started, and he was still doing this regularly and still going to dialysis. Sabby had a job and was doing this. But Sabby does this full time now. She's not at the school anymore, right?
You had to ask Sabby. I don't want to misspeak.
I got you. But yeah, I mean, even if she is, that's even crazier. But I remember Sabby be literally on the workout, like on the treadmill and watching the news, trying to get ready for her show at night. Like, y'all don't know, a lot of effort and a lot of work goes into bringing out this information. So the people that you like and support, make sure that y'all support them for real, because it is not an easy job. Let's go ahead and check out this hotspot video that I did yesterday. I decided to wear the same shirt I did for my hotspot video because it just felt like the right move to make. Let's go ahead and check this out. AOC being AOC.
Wow, I'm really impressed. AOC actually gave a speech in solidarity with the protesters of Columbia University and other universities across the country.
It is especially important that we remember the power of young people shaping this country today, of all days, as we once again witness the leadership of those peaceful student-led protests on campuses like Columbia, Yale, Berkeley, and many others.
Now, look, I know I've had my criticisms about AOC, but I truly think it's dope that... Hold on. Is that a picture of AOC and Joe Biden? Hold on. Was this picture taken the same day as the speech with her showing solidarity with the university protesters? Nah, bro. Is she wearing the exact same shirt that she just gave a speech in? So after AOC gave this speech celebrating the peaceful protesters of Columbia University, she took a picture with Joe Biden, who literally condemned those very same protests as anti-Semitic. But you know what? I'm not even surprised. This is AOC. This is the same AOC that admitted that the United States is funding a genocide and then turned around and said, well, we have to vote for Joe Biden, though, because we have a responsibility to uphold democracy domestically and around the world. Those were her words. But apparently AOC's idea of supporting democracy around the world is voting for a president who is actively funding an apartheid state. We got two different definitions of democracy, bro. Y'all gotta find a way to get her up out of there, bro. She cannot keep getting away with this.
Shout out to Greg on S. Yeah, man. We're gonna talk a little bit about not a little bit. We're gonna talk a lot about that AOC shit. Also, Nick put out a banger yesterday that we're gonna check out before we get into the get down. Is this it, Nick, or is it the other one? Oh, this is it, right?
Yeah, I think this is it. President Joe Biden has condemned the students protesting against the genocide that he's funding as anti-Semitic. Man, Joe Biden is really going to go down as a bottom 5 president when it is all said and done. Here we have President Joe Biden committing the cardinal sin of conflating Judaism with Zionism. It is disgusting, and these liberals know exactly what they are doing when they do this. To show you guys how ridiculous Zionism is, here we have a Catholic, Joe Biden, that is smearing peace-loving Jewish students as anti-Semitic because they don't support the Catholic helping the Jewish people bomb the Muslims and the Christians in Palestine. Do you guys understand how ridiculous Zionism is now? Zionism is a fascist ideology which leads to ramped up authoritarianism. We now have a government that is weaponizing the police state against students who is protesting that government for funding a genocide. Here is Israel meddling in United States politics, once again demanding that Biden ramps up the fascism and cracks down on Columbia and take control of the school. I said it many times before and I say it again. Zionism is the #1 threat to liberty and the rights of Americans, and we are seeing it in real time. Much respect to all the students of Columbia that are protesting against the genocide. What they're doing is showing the perfect example of what it means to be a true class traitor. A lot of these students are children of elite families, children of Congress people. They are weaponizing their privilege, knowing that the police state would not be as brutal against them as they would be anyone else. And whether we like it or not, elite academia rebelling against the government's criminal actions only gives more legitimacy towards revolutionary action. These students are not doing this without consequence. They will face class retaliation and lose place within their class. That's why we must stand united with them, build a broad coalition to oppose the genocidal ideology of Zionism.
Banger!
Now imagine getting these videos back to back, banger after banger. That's what we're doing to the timeline, brother. It's great to be working with you guys because that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
one banger, then another banger. You know what I mean?
Another banger. Hey, you brought up really quick before we get into the AOC stuff. You brought up such a brilliant point. These elite students, who a lot of them, like their names or their last names specifically, ring bells in elite circles. This will have reverberating impact and consequence for them going forward. People forget a lot of these students are undergrads. They're applying for graduate degrees. They're applying to law school, medical school, internships. And I'm telling you, as somebody who had to deal with, because I was whenever I was a senior in college still, when I was the state director for Bernie's campaign. And you would think, like, naively back then, like, oh, like this is a good thing for me to be doing. And then you found out, oh, that is a lot of political allegiances that I had no idea existed. I thought like it was just about my academics and, you know, my success. No, there is political blowback for making the wrong, quote unquote, political decision publicly. And when your name ends up in newspapers, they look that stuff up. The committees look that stuff up. So Nick made a brilliant point. These people are not making these sacrifices and making this judgment call to actively protest without consequence. Like, oh yeah, it's just like a little cute, trendy project. No, hell, some of them are homeless right now. Not literally, they could probably go back home, but a lot of them don't have a place to sleep or a dorm to lay their head in, and they're trying to figure out their situation going forward. So he's absolutely right, man. Question. You hear about the canceled classes?
Yeah, they're doing virtual only, right?
Yeah, because of Robert Kraft pulling his funding. Robert Kraft, for those of you who don't know, is the owner of the New England Patriots. Also is the guy who got caught in a little bathhouse in Florida, which is kind of awkward. Maybe you're not the guy who wants his name in the news. That's why your team is trash now, by the way. So, but what do you think that they actually hope to achieve by canceling classes? Because I have an opinion about this, but I want to hear yours first.
I don't know if they thought it was going to hurt the protesters, because that's exactly it. It showed that their action is working and is successful. I don't know, and I did a propaganda report last night on Nick at Night where Morning Joe and MSNBC was talking about the donors pulling support from the school, and they're like, "See, this is why you guys should crack down on the students." I'm like, you guys are making our point. The fact that you guys don't operate based on what's best for the students. You guys don't operate in a democratic way. You guys operate based on what the donors want, the capitalist donors. You guys see how this system, this mode of central planning, inherently leads to authoritarianism? Because the people who control the capital and control the influence of these large institutions will have way larger sway than we do. So that's my initial take of it, where I don't know. And I guess there's two ways you can look at it, because I guess it is successful among their class. Like the audacity, if you saw that Warren Joe segment I reacted to, where they were just talking about, like, yeah, of course the billionaire pulled their funding. Yeah, fuck the kids. Like, yeah, of course this is what happened. They talk about it like it's a good thing. They're praising the donors for, quote unquote, speaking out. So they consider it a good thing, while the proletariat, while we're looking on in horror, and they don't even realize the mistakes they are making, because I don't believe that they are competent. We don't live in a meritocracy. I think Henry Kissinger was dangerous and competent, but people need to realize the ruling class we're dealing with right now, they're the sons and daughters, the trainees, the people who was mentored by the truly horrific, competent ruling class that built up the
architects.
Empire. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The architects of the empire. And you're a student of history as well, Niko. Why do empires fail? Because when you look at the people who built the empire, they may be evil, but they're fucking competent as hell. They built the empire. It was great. Now the people that are in charge of the ruling class, and this is what I'm starting to realize covering this, they are like Hillary Clinton famously said that she was mentored by Henry Kissinger. A lot of these people are nepotism babies. They just simply not as good as managing the empire as the previous generations was. Do you I don't know what your thoughts on that, but I know you have a lot to say as well. So Niko, go ahead.
Nah, so with Hillary Clinton specifically, she was woefully uninteresting. Like, she was good at regurgitating, but like one of the reasons that her family was big into politics. Bill Clinton didn't come from any of that type of money, but he was extremely intelligent and was extremely charismatic. And so there is the theory that basically Hillary Clinton's family was like, you need to marry him because otherwise you won't ever have any power, because you're actually like you've been able to use our name to get into these elite schools. Like, you know, you could do the cog in the machine academics, which is like, when you really think about it, it's actually not that difficult if you have the right environment, but you're never going to be what Bill Clinton, you're never going to reach the height that Bill Clinton can take you to. So yeah, you're absolutely right. There are people who are the architects of this stuff, and there are people who are just, like you said, they're Nepo babies. Like, you would never have gotten here without your name, which is one of the reasons why she kept the name Hillary Rodham Clinton, because like that was part of her legacy. As far as this Columbia University thing goes, I don't know exactly. They said it was because of safety reasons. That's what they said. So like, here's the problem with that. Ooh, that's not gonna stop any protests. I don't. I have some problems with the way the president has been allowing like this guy Davida, whatever the hell his name is, the professor, the Israeli professor, like literally calling students terrorists and calling the president of the school terrorist, which is crazy. Like, I don't know how you keep your job after that shit. He's not even tenured, bro. I don't even know how you keep your job after that. But in the defense of the president of Columbia University, she actually came out and said that the protests have been exclusively peaceful. She came out and said that. And she's not allowed the NYPD to interfere. And you know, that's a bigger deal. That's a big deal. Because you know they're trying. We know that somebody somewhere is trying to pull strings to get the NYPD involved, and she's not been allowing them to get involved, because when it does escalate, and what are they going to say? It's the protesters' fault. We know that. But all I heard, so the way that these elite universities work, yeah, there's the trust fund, or excuse me, the trust, the endowment money, and but primarily, especially if you're not funded by sports, which Columbia is not, they don't really have a good sports program. Research is actually what funds your school, and the best professors in the school are actually kind of lazy. I'm not gonna lie to you. A lot of them are just primarily researchers, which is why they have a bunch of associate professors and grad students doing the majority of the work. And usually they're using the same curriculum over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and they don't really change from it. And if you're one of those professors, which is probably the majority of them, who doesn't have a virtual curriculum, you're being asked to create a virtual curriculum on the fly, which you have zero time to do, which probably means you're going to bullshit it. Like, it's going to be, and you're like, hey man, just prep for finals. That's what's going to happen. So in other words, if I'm a student, I'm like, yes, now I got less work on my hands. I got more time to study for my finals. Oh, and by the way, I actually have more time to protest. I actually have more time to do what I was like. But what it does, in my opinion, is it takes the university out of it. It's like, well, you can't blame us. They're technically doing this on their own volition now. They're not skipping classes to do this. They're not, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all can't pull your funding because it's something that they're doing on their own, in their own volition. Like, if they decide in their free time to gather in front of Columbia University to hold these protests, how can you blame us? So I got to give it's like a mixed bag. I got to give some credit to the university for the way that they've handled it in some ways. But then when you're finding out also in other ways that some of these deans have been suspending students, but then not suspending the counter protesters that are reacting violently, like literally throwing chemicals at these protesters, like that had got swept under the rug. That professor that should have been fired still hasn't. He's been locked out of the main part of campus outside of the building he teaches in. But other than that, he hasn't been fired. So that should have been handled differently. But I understand like these type of universities, because I graduated from UNC. So, you know, it's very, very political, and not one person has power over everything. There's deans for every single like specialization and major and building, and there's graduate, undergrad, professional, like, so it's very complicated. So I get that part. But the president has stood on business and made sure to let everybody know these protesters are peaceful. Now, AOC actually came out and said, like I said in the video, protesters are peaceful as well. She actually cheered them on. But then, Nick, she turns around the same goddamn day, and it looks like in the same park, literally in the same place, and does a photo op with Joe Biden, who literally called the same protesters anti-Semitic. Do you know why she was actually meeting with Joe Biden that day? I'm genuinely asking you. I'm genuinely asking you.
Yeah, she was, from what I saw, she was essentially like a nursing home staffer, holding his hand, taking care of him. That's from what I've seen, but maybe I'm she's there to take care of him, make him look alive. That's what it seemed like she was there to do.
She was put in some volunteer hours. That's what it looked like she was doing, right? Nah, but in all seriousness, she was there because Joe Biden summoned her. Joe Biden, Joe Biden summoned her. It's like almost right after that speech to specifically talk about her stance on the university protest, but also her no vote on that singular piece of legislation with Israel. She voted, for Ukraine, but the separate piece of legislation that went through for the $26 billion, she voted against it. She voted against it, and they gave her a little talking to. Now, you remember in 2016 after Barack Obama called Bernie up, "Hey man, come talk to me real quick. Come to my office." And next thing you know, they're taking a picture, posing together, and Bernie effectively drops out of the race. And so this is it's even worse because she is geeking in this picture with him, and it's weird. It's weird. It's like, that's the only way I can describe it. It's like, bro, you just came out and voted against this legislation. You pretend to be anti-genocide. You pretend to support these protesters, and then you go and pose with Genocide Joe and the aviators.
So you guys realize there was a very tactical reason why AOC was refusing to call it a genocide. She got pressure from her base to the point where she was getting heckled in public. You shown a image of that time where she went unhinged because she was demanded to call it a genocide. This is when she was refusing to do so. Now, there was a reason why AOC did that, but she folded to public pressure, and now she was forced to call it a genocide. And now AOC completely ruined her original strategy, because her original strategy was to avoid calling it a genocide, because if she calls it a genocide, that makes Biden implicated in violating Leahy's law. And the law says that we cannot provide funds to a state that's complicit with genocide. Mm-hmm. AOC is hoping that you forget this contradiction. So when AOC is supporting Biden, when you see AOC taking these selfies, she is taking selfies with a criminal, with a person that she acknowledges as a criminal, because she says it's a genocide. Now you guys see why she was refusing to say that before, because if she says it's a genocide, she condemns Biden. Now think about this for a second. She also says that we got to oppose Trump, because she also said that Trump is a criminal, as you're opposing with someone who is direct violation of Leahy's law. And you're not supposed to supply arms and munitions to countries that are complicit with genocide and international law violations. Now, why does she say we got to support this criminal? So you acknowledge that he's a criminal, which this is what we should be calling him. That's what I call him. Why? To protect democracy. She's become an institutionalist. She upholds the values of our institutions more than she does holding a criminal accountable. You guys see why I break it down in language this way? Because it truly outlines the deplorable behavior that they're engaging in. Because imagine if we had streams where we had gangbangers on that murdered people. I'm not talking about like the person who's just posing. I'm talking about we had certified murderers on our stream and we would just glorify them. You know what the kind of shit we would take? This is what the professional managerial class, AOC and them, they do it all the time. We need to change our messaging. The messaging that we shouldn't vote for Democrats because that they haven't done enough for us. That's been the messaging from progressives in the Black community forever. Yep. My opposition to the Democratic Party is not that they're not doing enough for us. My opposition to the Democratic Party is that they're a party ran by criminals.
Exactly.
Allow them to buy me off. Like at this point, Nick, I wouldn't even allow them to buy me off. You know what I mean? You guys, yep. And RB and our brother Niko and our friends, we're trying to change how people frame it, because when you frame it the other way, it actually it puts them off the hook. Oh, yeah. Man, Biden do enough for the Black community, but what the Latino? It had nothing to do with that. Where I come from, it's the crimes you guys are committing and the corruption you guys are enabling Niko, I'll pass back to you.
You're a murderer. Like, y'all are murderers.
Yeah,
like, like it ain't like it's like, oh man, that's not good enough. No, there's a difference. Like, if say you get caught speeding, you got caught doing 25 over, or you got in a couple of accidents, you're not a good enough driver. When you're intentionally trying to run pedestrians over, you're a murderer.
Exactly.
That's the
way I play GTA. If you drive the way I play like Grand Theft Auto, you're a murderer. That's it. That's
for real. And people don't understand the difference. It is the same thing with the Republican Party. Like, but people, and I had this conversation the other day on my show. I was like, look, I got friends that consider themselves leftists and conservatives, and every now and then I'll be having to do this whenever I'm scrolling through my timeline, because I want to cuss everybody out. Like, I try to be understanding and meet people where they're at. But at the same time, at least the majority of them understand at this point, like, oh, both of these parties, they just want us all dead. They have zero problem with starting World War III. And as long as you understand that point, we can work from there. I can work with you from there, because we might not always agree on solutions, but you gotta, at least, if you're a leftist that's like, well, they're just not doing good enough. No. That's not, you're not taking it far enough.
Yeah.
I need you to get that. For example, and this doesn't really get discussed enough. You remember in 2020 during the Democratic National Convention, most of us, actually, I think all of us watched it from home because of COVID, but they invited Bill Clinton to speak. Bill Clinton had just gotten confirmed in the Epstein case. Confirmed. He was mentioned multiple times in the case, bro. And they invite him to the convention to speak and to get votes and to get support for Joe Biden. Huh? What? And everybody was like, yeah, man, that's kind of crazy. No, that's not kind of crazy. He's a pedophile. He's a sexual predator on top of all that. We already knew all that. But specifically, he's a pedophile who is implicated, because if this was anybody else, right? If this was somebody not named Bill Clinton, for example, they would have excommunicated him and act like he doesn't exist, and never considered uplifting him in a way that they believe would market their party again in the future. But it's Bill Clinton, so it's different. And he's a Democrat, so it's different. Like, nah, bro, y'all really gonna market this pedophile? Y'all cool with that? Not only they're cool with it, they like embrace it. And then AOC was like speaking either right before or right after him. I'm like, AOC is really going to speak at this convention where they got pedophiles speaking? I can't take you. If there was ever a point where I was going to consider taking her serious again in the future, that went out the window, because I could never. It's one thing to have disagreements. It is another thing entirely for you to be a pedophile implicated in one of the grandest the largest human trafficking cases ever. And you know he's guilty. Everybody knows he's guilty. And you're like, yeah, man, anyway. So, yeah, vote for Joe Biden, who also has all these pictures of him being a pedophile. Come on, bro. Like, it's beyond they're not good enough. It is they are trying to kill us. They don't, at the bare minimum, at the very top, they're trying to kill us. At the bare minimum, they're complicit in our deaths. It's like, whatever, shit. You're not going to vote for me anyway. You can die. And so I want to show real quick. Jay actually put up this tweet talking about, once again, this is AOC. This is who she is. And this is probably has something to do with a little meeting she had in the park. This is AOC, this is Ocasio-Cortez's first donation to the committee, talking about the DCCC. Under conditions of growing popular hostility to Biden administration, AOC, who is a key political prop of President Biden, is emerging as a significant financial prop for the Democratic Party in 2024 elections. The New York Congresswoman is one of the Democratic Party's major fundraisers. Since 2019, she has raked in more than $37 million for the Democratic Party. In addition to $260,000 transferred to the DCCC, Ocasio-Cortez's Political Action Committee maintains $500,000 that will be used to elect Democratic parties across the country, especially in swing districts. She was one of the first Democrats to endorse Joe Biden for re-election last year. In an interview with the New York Times, Ocasio-Cortez explained her donation by emphasizing the dire threat of Republicans staying in power.
Like a genocide? Like Cop City? Popping up everywhere?
Nick, real quick. Aren't there, now just correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be. Aren't the Republicans just passing all the shit that Joe Biden wanted to pass with the Democrats in power?
Hmm?
That's what it seems like.
Uh-oh.
Right? Am I crazy for that?
You asking questions. You're not allowed to do that, man.
What's the dire threat? I'm genuinely curious what she believes what is going to be fundamentally different whenever the Democrats get back in power. I'm genuinely curious because the Republicans have I almost forgot until the other day when I was reading. I was like, oh shit, the Republicans actually have the House? I completely forgot because there hasn't been any difference. What they got more funding for Ukraine, the same war that they ran, because remember during the midterms they ran doing what? Challenging Biden and the Democrats' war in Ukraine. Then what did they just do? Pass more funding to a war as a meat grinder, basically. Right? They're in lockstep for the most part with the Democrats when it comes to Israel. They like, what's the difference, Nick? Literally, what is if there is any difference? What is the difference? Because it used to at least be nominally Ukraine, and you can't even say that anymore.
We said on RBN when we started 3 years ago, and people thought we were saying it for clicks. The amount of hate that we would never get apologies for both of us being right on AOC calling her out a long time ago. We said, and we have a segment named AOC is the next Nancy Pelosi.
Mm-hmm.
What did Nancy Pelosi start out as? And I'm using the 80s barometer. You guys remember that. In the 1980s, Nancy Pelosi was considered a progressive because she supported single-payer health care that she don't support anymore. There's a famous clip of her giving an impassioned speech for single-payer health care. She argued that European countries are getting it, so it's time for the United States to upgrade. She also, remember, this is the 80s, she was also seen at these giant LGBTQ gatherings in San Francisco. And I know that don't seem like a big deal to us, but you got to remember this is the 80s, where public polls was extremely anti-gay, and it was extremely risky for a politician to be seen there. Pelosi was the young politician, one of the first ones seen at one of these pride events. And I say this because we got to understand context. That was considered extremely progressive at that time. So at the time, Nancy Pelosi was considered the young upstart progressive. Now here comes AOC that followed the same formula of supporting single-payer health care, not touching touchy subjects. Like Nancy Pelosi was very strategic and made her seem like a progressive by not touching like the Cold War that Reagan was waging. You know what I mean? You didn't want to get her opinion on that. That's what AOC did with Ukraine. That was you doing all these other issues. So we said this years ago. We called it. We pegged it. And it is coming true because now what did Nancy Pelosi do to make her a valid leader in the Democratic Party? She became a fundraiser.
Yep.
So now what part of the path is AOC is on?
That is, oh man, yep. I've been saying it. Ever since that conversation that she had with Pelosi, it was like I don't remember what it was about. I don't remember what like sparked that conversation. It might have been the election, but it was a very specific issue. Oh, she kept pissing the Democrats off. And I think it was about the DCCC. I think it was some DCCC shit specifically. And Nancy Pelosi called her and the squad to the office, and AOC left that situation like a completely different person. Let me read the rest of this really quick. It's important. She said this party has turned into a party of Trumpism. She said, once again, I don't understand how that would be like dramatically different from now, but whatever.
Just a question before you finish. How is that worse than George W. Bush-ism? How is that worse than?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Like Newt Gingrich.
Okay, it's like meaning. Oh, because you don't like Trump? Is that what makes it worse? Like, is it worse than being a party of Bidenism? But like, I don't. What's the difference? But whatever. What she did not say is that the same Biden administration, which she supports, has made a key aspect of its domestic and foreign policy the closing of ranks with the far right Republicans to ensure the waging of war abroad. The Biden administration and Democratic Party have not only blocked investigation of the role of the Pentagon, the Department of Homeland Security, and other state agencies in the fascist coup attempt of January 6, 2021, but on key issues of domestic policy, most notably the attack on immigrants, Biden has also adopted central elements of the policies of the Republican Party. At least somebody said it. It wasn't a fascist. I wouldn't call it a fascist coup on January 6th, but it is important to acknowledge just how much the intelligence community was involved in January 6th. But she likes to leave that shit out. It says, despite this record, Ocasio-Cortez argued that House Democratic leadership and the Democratic Party more broadly have changed sufficiently over the last 5 years to warrant a direct, sizable cash transfer. An open acknowledgement of AOC's role as a prop of the crisis-ridden Democratic National Committee, Hakeem Jeffries praised Ocasio-Cortez for helping us protect the integrity of the electoral process and take back the House in 2024. Bro, I don't know how the hell they're going to take the House. I don't know what they thought. That's not happening. That's not happening. Not legally, not legitimately. Let's play a game of trivia, Nick. What is not saying Trump's name. What is the Democratic Party running on? What are they running on? I'm genuinely curious.
There's no real way to answer that question because I'm too wonky. I would say my initial answer will be they're running on war. But I don't know if the average person would say that. They would say the Democratic Party is running on democracy. No one knows what that means.
Not a fucking issue. Democracy is not an issue, especially because we don't got one. So let's go ahead and get out the way.
But when they say democracy, the reason why I say they're running on war because that's what they mean when they say that. Why you guys think they say they're fighting for democracy in Ukraine? They fighting for U.S. hegemony. Like I'm actually shocked, Niko, how many times they actually say the quiet part out loud. And it's weird to say, but you won't really decode it unless you have anti-imperialist previous knowledge. If you know the lies of the establishment, so sometimes they say stuff out loud, and most Americans don't even know what they're saying. When every time I see them say we got to send money to Taiwan to fight for democracy, we got to send money to Ukraine to fight for democracy, I'm like, bro, I can't believe they're saying it out loud. That's them saying that we got to wage never-ending war to uphold U.S. hegemony. But you know what I'm talking about? Most people don't hear it like that. Does that make sense, Niko?
Yeah, no, well, that's and which is why they worded the way they worded is like, and also, but at the same time, and I guess because of just how long we've been doing this, and probably most people don't believe it. I would say like they don't hear it like that, but also at the same time, they don't know what the hell they're hearing. They're like, fight for how the hell my democracy end up in Taiwan? I didn't know that my democracy spoke Taiwanese or Cantonese. I did not know that. That's crazy. I just learned something new today. There's no reason. And then you have the other where they the other times where they say the quiet part out loud, which is, well, Taiwan got these chips, man, and we kind of need them for our fourth industrial revolution. So yeah, we gotta protect Taiwan. It's like, well, hold on, you didn't say that. That's not what y'all said before. Y'all said it was democracy over there. Yeah, we meant chips, the microchips of democracy, the technological aspect of democracy.
Building blocks of democracy.
And it was, or they make up the lie, we're just trying to protect Taiwan from China. It's like, no, you're protecting your interests. And China happens to be dominant in this particular industry. And if they absorb, because Taiwan is actually kind of like, most of them are indifferent actually about the whole China thing. A lot of them are just indifferent about it.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. There's a, and I'll cover this before, and it's shown in the election. There's a strong, like, militant wing of the population, but that's only like 30%. It's shown consistently in polls. When you ask Taiwanese people, it's around like 80% favor the status quo. When the last election, the party that's anti-China lost seats. The establishment was like, oh my God, you have anti-China president won, but they ignore the fact that they have a multi-party system. The anti-China president won, but he won with like 35% support, 40% support, because that's how their democracy and most democracies work. But when you look at the vast actual vote share, the reason why the anti-China party lost is because the majority of the Taiwanese people was voting against their proposal, which is not even, to be honest, it's not even as anti-China. I remember I heard Danny Haiphong explain this before. It's not even as anti-China as people present it as. You know what I mean? They just want a little bit more sovereignty, but they don't even want to completely separate from China. You obviously had the most far right extremes that say that, but it's not even as anti-China. But I just want to back up your point. That's such a great point you make. Go ahead.
No, it's an important point. Like they're not. It's like somewhat kind of like the Donbass region when it comes to Russia or Crimea when it comes to. Well, actually, Crimea decided they wanted to be part of Russia, but Donbass region just wanted to be a little bit more sovereign. Like, and they wanted to maintain friendly and amicable relations with Russia because it's important for their economy, and it's important militarily because they're not as large. So with Taiwan, it's kind of like the same thing. It's like we don't necessarily want to be part of China, but that don't make me want to like say F y'all. Like they are our neighbors and they kind of big and they kind of run the world in a lot of ways. Pretty reasonable stance. Pretty reasonable stance, man. Like that's how I feel about it. Like, and most people in Taiwan feel like that. But what I'm sure most people will not want is like, now what we not about to do. Oh no, excuse me. What y'all not about to do is start a goddamn war between us for something that has to do with y'all, because that's what it's leaning into. They keep sending all these weapons to Taiwan, and of course, I'm sure Taiwan's going to take the weapons. But at the same time, because you can't really say no because of the situation, unfortunately, that the United States has put them in. You can't say no because now you're going to have the entire Western world punish you. Because it's almost like what do they call, like extortion, right? Or like when you're forcing them to take the bribe because I need you to get your hands dirty. Everybody needs to see you take the weapon so they know whose side you on. You got no choice. So
Niko,
really quick, let me read you super chat. Let me read you super chats, and then I want to show y'all something about these protests that has not really gotten enough discussion yet. Eric, thank you very much for the super chat. AOC, the new presidential convalesce candy strip. Oh man, Steve Hayes. AOC just following Hillary Pelosi, Rahm Emanuel, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz in the line of the DBC DCCC corruption machine ladder. Yep. Hell, in some ways she's skipping the line. I just don't understand how AOC keeps raising so much damn money. Facebook, man. Facebook has got that. And like I told y'all before, man, AOC does this thing where she'll get in front of her audience in New York when she doesn't think a lot of, like, if there's no mainstream media around and it's mostly just her supporters, she'll get in front of them and give you one speech and then get on mainstream media and give a totally different speech and then get in front of Nancy Pelosi and her people and give a totally different speech. She's mastering it. Like, you can almost make an argument that in some ways she's better at it than the majority of the Democratic Party, because a lot of the ones who have had like enjoyed a level of popularity, including Bernie Sanders in the past, they don't have the ability anymore to maintain to maintain face, right? Basically, it's like everybody's like, yeah, you're full of it. AOC, people are still out there defending her as a progressive. Even as they see the rest of the squad fall off, they're still defending AOC. So it is what it is, man.
I think the PMC left class love AOC because they aspire to be her. They aspire to be a sellout like her. And I think they're the reason why I think they're driving AOC's fundraising numbers up. Because and I covered this before, when you look at her approval ratings, she has an approval rating that is worse than Kamala Harris. And I know there are polls that are outliers, but I have tracked multiple polls. Like it's becoming a trend, like that she's either worse or she's around the same number. So it's not like an outlier. Like she's consistently rated as one of the most, and I can send you the receipts if you want to, Niko. She's one of the most unpopular politicians in America. You want to know why? Because she's someone who's pretending to be a socialist while saying that we have to defend democracy in Ukraine. You know the country that banned collective bargaining rights for workers? You know the country that banned socialist parties?
Banned elections? The country that banned elections? Literally?
Yeah. So we have a socialist, a fake socialist, I cannot emphasize that enough, a socialist in the United States that is advocating for a democracy, a country that banned collective bargaining. That's why AOC is one of the most unpopular politicians in America. But the PMC class, who's oftentimes anti-socialist, they love these contradictions, which is why they still support her. Exactly. Anyway, Nick, I know I'll let you finish your segment. There's a lot to say on that.
Yeah, no, man. So I just had to show you. So like I said, the president of Colombia came out and said that the protests were peaceful, but you've had these people try to label these protesters as violent, pro-terrorist, pro this, pro that. And of course, as usual, there is somebody that was behind the scenes trying to spark violence at these protests. And apparently it's bearing some proof. So we're gonna check this out.
Like we're going to be more pro-Israel than you can even imagine, just to like provoke everyone. The majority of Americans are pro-Israel, whereas we never call Israel in the UK. It's just pure hatred. Yeah, your country like basically let half of Pakistan move in, you know? So you have a different problem than we do here.
The protesters are on a fellowship program run by a conservative think tank called the Hoover Institution.
This is actually the first foot soldier activity that I think we've been forced to do.
There's basically just like Noah Pollock coming and being like, look, there are these jihadis who basically.
So
Bro,
really quick,
Is that what I think it is?
yeah, it is.
That ain't what I think it is. I know that ain't what I think it is.
For those of you who don't know, that is actually Sauger and Jetty's co-host for his podcast. It's always one with those haircuts, man. I don't know why. It's like the ones with the even all around, with the pointy sideburns. It's always them, bro. You always know what team they playing for. Yeah, but that's him, guys. That's him.
Suicide bombing, and they're at a campus, and you have to stop them.
So a chance to shout at Arabs?
As we're leaving, we mentioned to our boss yesterday that we're going. She's like, "Oh yeah, that's mandatory. You need to go." You know what my worst nightmare is? I'm actually not kidding. It's a photo of Dion and I together, and we're just like clearly identifiable. And they're like, "Oh, who are these like traders who sold out to the Jewish conspiracy for money?" I'm like, "We did. We cost $50,000 plus benefits." They did a really good job getting me excited to show up and protest.
It kind of, the way you're putting it kind of sounds a bit like Astroturfing.
No. This is Astroturfing. No, this is actually there's a bus.
What does that mean?
So it's when you set up things.
It's the difference between grassroots and Astroturf.
You're taking corporate money and you're manufacturing the image of a grassroots movement with corporate money by basically paying people to appear as actors.
First of all, I don't know how the hell Max does this chameleon shit. I don't know what. He's so well known. How does he keep getting away with this? Exposing these people. I don't know how he does.
It's not that astroturfing is wrong. It's just that, like, your astroturf has to be like committed.
If you do happen to speak with any reporters, just stay on message. And what is that message? SJP is a hate group. BDS is a hate movement. The only other thing you probably want to mention is that SJP endorses violence, terrorism, things like that. And you guys are going to be great.
Hey, SJP, what do you think of this?
Great. Resistance. Child suicide bombers.
Real baby killers, these terrorists. They kill women, they kill children, they don't care about anything.
Rape women too, all the time.
They don't even sound like they believe the shit that they're saying, Nick, but there y'all go. What's your take, man?
Yeah, this is clearly what you do when you know you're on the losing side. And I don't know what the hell happened to the other generations. We similar enough in age where we come from the generation that completely rejected Zionism, because we were told this story like, what? Like, we creating this theocracy where it's an apartheid state. Wait, Palestinians already live there. We send money to them. They get free. What? Like, this shit never made sense to us.
Yeah.
I try not to be too judgmental. I went pretty hard last night. Like, I don't understand how they fucking fell for this. But our generation, this shit is so ridiculous. It's not even remotely believable. The only way that can possibly get people to support Israel in our generation is to pay these sellouts. Like Marshall, who went along to have a great career in media. Surely a coincidence. Surely a coincidence, right?
Bro, that was embarrassing.
Go ahead, Niko.
I'm just saying that was. I know Sagar's somewhere like, bruh, dog.
I think he knows what he signed it for.
Because I don't even know if Sagar isn't even pro-Israel, if I'm not mistaken. So there's that. Like, I don't know. He's not necessarily pro-Palestine, but like, he can't be like, this is just not a bad look marketing wise, just for the brand. It don't look good. It don't look good. And my thing is, if you got to AstroTurf, if you got to give, so in any protest, it is important to understand like that you do need to stay on message if somebody was to interview you, not because like you're trying to deceive people, but because you don't want to go off on a tangent and then they take whatever you say in error and then make that the story, because disingenuous establishment actors will do that. But this isn't what this is. It's just, hey, man, tell everybody that they're terrorist supporting baby killers. And she's smiling because she doesn't believe it. Yeah. They're busing. If the protesters, if pro-Palestinian protesters and these students specifically are so violent, why do you have to bus in counter protesters to start violence?
So after Marshall was exposed, and I know this is an older video, I see some people in the comments mention that it's obviously an older video because Marshall looks much younger there. I have a very low opinion of Breaking Points already. I explained many times on RB and why I do. But if Breaking Points want to have any legitimacy, they must let him go now.
Yeah.
If they don't let Marshall go, that's them admitting that they are literally a psyop. Once again, I have low opinion of them. I still already think they are. But if they don't get rid of Marshall, they outright admitting they are. And I'm going to explain why. I have 1,000 disagreements with Siger. He's a right winger. We explained that many times before. I have 1,000 disagreements with Crystal. I don't think she is as real as she lets off. You know what I mean? I don't think she's as. I think she's very fake. A lot of people think, well, I disagree with Crystal, but at least she's real. No, I don't get that shit from her at all. But I will admit they did a great job branding themselves as. Even if you disagree with us, you know we're saying.
They did a good job taking all of our themes and then trying and pretending they're anti-establishment. That's what they did. They definitely did that.
So. But the branding of Breaking Points is you may not agree with us, but we are telling you what we legitimately believe. We are right wingers and left wingers who disagree with us, with each other, but we are saying what we truly mean. Seeing Marshall be a part of this PSYOP campaign where he's willing to say stuff for money. Having them on your platform completely destroys your legitimacy. Once again, these are things we already know, but I'm cynical. You know what I mean?
You're 100% correct.
Yeah, if you want to outright destroy all your legitimacy, you keep this guy on. And if you care about Breaking Points at all, if you're someone who disagrees with me, you should be demanding they get rid of him after this. How can anyone take him seriously? Go ahead.
Or
I know
counterpoint, if you want to just give us the most entertaining outcome possible, please have him come on and explain himself. I would like that more.
I'll actually prefer that. That'll be good.
Please
come on and then get rid of him after that.
Please have him come on and give an explanation, because that would be far more entertaining. I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
I agree.
That's what I would like to see happen. But I don't know if they would. But no, you're 100% right. Like, to protect your brand, I mean, let's be honest, they got Ryan Grimm on there, so like it ain't like they really big into brand protecting. But to protect your brand, you gotta fight. But then it's like you have to have integrity for that, right? Because now Sagar,
we go down a rabbit hole. Right?
Probably has to separate from his friend with the podcast too, because that's his whole thing. Is we're honest. We might be conservatives, but we're honest conservatives, and it's like, well, no, you're not. We know how this guy got to where he got. Allegedly, apparently I've been doing what I've been told to do. What did he say? It's not like Astroturfing. It is Astroturfing. That's crazy.
Why did they hire him? Look, you see how enthusiastic he is talking about that. And this is how and Noam Chomsky explains it. Like, this is how it works, guys. Like, if Marshall was like, man, I'm taking this money, but I don't know about this, man. Like, if he wasn't enthusiastic, he won't get the job again. Like, they know how to weed them out. When you see that video, you see how enthusiastic Marshall. He like, hell yeah, I will sell out for 50,000. Yeah, I'll show you. You guys see the lack of moral barometer. They see that. They're like, yep, he's the guy.
That be scaring me, dog. You know that type of stuff scares the hell out of me. Because I personally, I couldn't imagine being in a situation where somebody's like, yeah, man, just sell your soul for 50,000 and go act like you care about this stuff. And to just be like, yeah, 100%, I'm going to do that. And be enthusiastic about selling out. I could not fathom being that person. And up until very recently in my life, maybe in my early 20s, I didn't realize that was really a thing that was widespread. Like, people were just okay with that. I didn't know it because I would be lying if I said it wasn't the norm, because he was that enthusiastic in front of everybody else, because it wasn't just him on the bus. It wasn't just him and the cameraman. He was extremely enthusiastic in front of a bunch of people because they all agreed, yeah, this is cool. So it was like a group. It's a widespread mentality of it is perfectly fine to sell your soul, knowing that lives are on the line, knowing that you're potentially trying to impugn the character of some of these protesters by sparking violence that wasn't there, knowing that the media is going to take your side and then taking advantage of it. It's like with those white girls on TikTok, they used to pretend that, like, they do the little switch where they act like they're upset and crying, and then they start smiling immediately to show you how much they can get away with, and you can't do anything about it. It's like that. That's scary as hell that there are people in the world that are like that, and then they become successful podcasters. And everybody's like, wow, how did you get there? Like with Patrick Bet-David, multi-level marketing scheme. That's how he got rich. He don't talk about that part. He just said, I was an entrepreneur. Yeah, bro. You don't talk about the part where you screwed a bunch of people over to get to that point. Yeah, you're extremely wealthy. You got there, but it isn't because you were a brilliant mind and a brilliant podcaster. No, you got rich, then you got some investors, then you got these super successful people. You paid them to come on and do interviews. This is before he was into politics like that. He had Kobe Bryant come on. Actually, right before Kobe passed away, he had Kobe Bryant on. He had these successful people come on, and then he took that and ran with it. And now people think like, oh, he's just an entrepreneur, and that's how he got where he's at. No, what ends up happening is a lot of these people, they sold their soul at some point, and then they arrive, and all you see is the final product. They aren't smarter than you. They're not more intelligent than you. They're not more well-spoken than you. They're not more well-read than you. None of that. It's just they sold their soul early enough that you didn't catch it. Well, unless you sell your soul in front of Max Blumenthal, because he's always going to catch your ass, apparently. Don't do it. Don't sell your soul in front of James O'Keefe or Max Blumenthal, because they are going to find you. Apparently, it does not matter what age. But other than that, they usually sell their soul at an age that you don't know who they are. And all you see is who they've arrived to be, not who they were prior to that. And a lot of people buy into it. So, and I ain't gonna, there's a lot of people like that some of y'all might trust in independent media. I ain't gonna say no names, but that's what happens. Real quick, man. Real quick. I want to get your opinion on this Stephen A. Smith backtrack. Did you hear about that already?
Yeah, I've seen what happened. I've been following the story too close. I haven't done a segment on it, but I've been following it very vaguely. Yeah,
I want to follow it because I kind of like the fact that there are sports people and pop culture people that are trying to get into politics, because it also allows us to get a little bit more into today's shit. I like sports. I like sports. I love the drama. I like the politics behind sports. And I also like the fact that when they get into politics, it actually exposes, it's just petty, but like Stephen A makes like a bunch of contradictory arguments in his sports logic. And when he's talking about politics, the contradictions get exposed because he uses the same logic, and it like, yeah, you can make the one-liner, but then you got to get called back on again and give an explanation for that one-liner. And then you got to give an explanation for the next explanation. And eventually it catches up with you in a way that the sports cycles don't necessarily catch up with you. Like whenever his like rampaging against Kyrie Irving, everybody forgot about that. Everybody forgot where him and remember it was Jay Will, Max, and Keyshawn Johnson had a show together, and Jay Will went at Stephen A because of how his treatment of Kyrie Irving versus Aaron Rodgers. And he was like, and now given everything we know, he's like, yeah, you're kind of wrong about it. And he's like, why? So why do you have this energy for Kyrie and not this energy for Aaron Rodgers? And he was going at Stephen A. And guess what happened? Him and Max and Keyshawn lost their show. Not even a month or so later. So, but that was like a political issue. That was why. But now you fast forward, no one talks about the way that Stephen A treated Kyrie, right? But politics don't work like that. They'll remember. Yeah, they'll remember. They you know, it can be like sports where people's attention spans can be a little bit short, but it ain't that goddamn short. You can't say, especially in the middle of election season. It's like you say something at the beginning of the playoffs, you better keep that same energy at the end of the playoffs. Well, you're in the middle of political playoffs, Stephen A. And when you say something, you better say it with your chest. Or and when people come at you, because he always says, I stand on my business. I stand on my 2 feet. If I said something, what he said, if I said something, I meant that. You know damn well I meant that. Okay, well, we're gonna see what you meant.
To touch on something that I made news about just a few days ago. Let me say this, ladies and gentlemen. Accountability is where everything needs to begin in this world. It's something I say quite often. I certainly never hesitate to hold folks accountable when mistakes or mishaps occur. So I'm certainly not about to run from it myself. I'm fully aware that I've been in the news over the last few days, paraded all over social media.
We know that Stephen A. Smith knows he was in the goddamn news. Stephen A. Smith knows everything that was ever said about it.
He's like, I know you guys probably seen me getting dragged.
As well. At the comments I made during my appearance.
No, he got caught up. He got caught up, bro. For real.
On Fox News' Hannity last week with the one and only Sean Hannity himself. And I'm fully aware of the outcry that has ensued because of it. A lot of folks in Black America seem pretty pissed at me right now, from friends and loved ones to colleagues, contemporaries, and dare I say, even the NAACP itself. Quite a few folks were put off, if not flat out offended, after my words were interpreted as associating support for Trump from the Black community with all the legal issues he's facing. For that, I sincerely apologize. To be clear, my words were misconstrued. I'm stating right here for the record that my words were taken out of context.
No, they weren't taken out of context. And what's crazy, so here's what's crazy, Nick. He wasn't wrong. He literally was not wrong. What he was explaining was like, they were trying to understand why the Black community is leaving Biden and going to Trump. And what he was trying to do was contextualize the situation from the average Black American, which is he's saying that the justice system is constantly doing Black Americans wrong. And because now it's happening in front of the world with Trump, because he is like, they are literally using the justice system to weaponize against and weaponizing it against Biden's political opponent. A lot of Black Americans can relate to that. Like, there's nothing that you can do to win because it was built against you. What Stephen A. Smith said wasn't actually wrong. It is what it is. You're like, oh, are you trying to say Trump is like Black people? No, we didn't say that. Nobody said that. No, but hey, look, don't try to come over here. It ain't for the faint of heart, Stephen A. is what I'm telling you. It ain't for telling it. It ain't for the faint of heart. What do you think? Do you feel like his words were taken out of context? And do you feel like what he actually said was pretty accurate from a general standpoint?
I just love how his video essentially is like, I know you guys probably heard me getting cooked. So I'm about to explain. Yeah, my family gave me too, man. I've been getting cooked, man. I'm about to explain why I've been getting cooked. Now, so the whole premise of the video is hilarious to me. Regarding his comments, I used to be a big ESPN head. I used to be one of the people that have ESPN on all the time. And I look back at it and I have no idea how I used to do it. I find it very mind-numbing now. Listen to a lot of these sports commentators because the more you learn about
they got rid of anything that had any level of like thoughtfulness to it. So there's that.
Yeah, to that point, I was literally just about to bring this up. I don't know if the product, this is what most people believe, got significantly worse, or maybe I just evolved. Because I used to watch ESPN a lot in like the early 2000s, back when I used to play basketball hardcore. I was really into sport. I was obsessed with it. So I'll be one of the people that'll come home, sports channels be on the background no matter what I'm doing. I don't know if it got worse, but bro, like sports commentary, my brother, he obsessed with the NFL. I got everyone I know is obsessed with sports. So I'll see these shows on. Like, bro, why y'all watch this? You guys realize there's analysis is so basic. It's Stephen A. Smith. I'll make my point shorter here. So Stephen A. Smith is one of the great examples of what I'm talking about here. Because I used to be obsessed with watching sport analysis. Then all of a sudden, this guy named Stephen A. Smith pops up. And he gives the worst basketball analysis I ever heard in my life. And I remember catching this guy early. I'm talking about like in the mid 2000s. Maybe my timeline a little off. Maybe he's
no, you're correct. It was around the time that old boy got drafted. Kwame Brown got drafted. That's when he got he got up. Basically, Stephen A. got uplifted in ESPN because he was part of the effort to get rid of the one and done rule. So he went around, excuse me, not the one and done rule, the skip college rule. So he went around criticizing Kwame Brown on college campuses.
Are you serious? Oh my God!
No, that's a real thing. That's how he got his, because that's not who he was. No one can give a damn about Stephen A. Smith. Then he went around and criticized an 18-year-old boy and they used Kwame Brown as a poster child for getting rid of the one and done rule, or excuse me, not the one and done rule, for bringing in the one and done rule and getting rid of skip college, because they weren't able to do it anymore, really. Or excuse me, they weren't able to do it before, because bro, Kevin Garnett skipped college, Dwight Howard skipped college, Kobe Bryant skipped college, Sean Bradley skipped college, J.R. Smith skipped. Like, you're talking about hoopers, Lou Will, six man, like Hooper skipped college. And so they finally got somebody, and even though Kwame had the potential, they had to make sure that he failed, and every single mistake that he made, they highlighted, and they used Stephen A. Smith to do it, and that's how he got his position. Yeah.
Dude, I had no idea that how Stephen A. got started, but that showed how deplorable he is, because I remember this debate, and the people arguing for that 1 year, and I think they were successful, right? But the people arguing for this 1 year rule is fucking extremely nefarious. This debate is so disgusting, because what are they going to gain? Because, well, technically they should be in school for extra year. What do they gain in the extra year? The only thing you're stopping them from doing is making money. No, I want you guys to understand, everything is rooted on money. The people making this argument, they wanted stars to go to the NCAA so the NCAA will make money.
Literally.
The NCAA was
and they were trying to make the argument it was a developmental thing, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, it made no sense at face value. And so these people were making this argument that was absurd. And I can make a very long argument. I'll spare you guys that it was rooted in anti-blackness. Like this idea of sending niggas to school first before they make millions. But that's a long argument. I'll spare you guys. But it was a ridiculous argument. They were like, we got to send them to school for a year. Why? They about to go to the NBA and make millions. Why would they have to go to school to study for a year? They will already be set. They only doing this so the NCAA will make money. You broke something to me. I didn't know that how Stephen A. got started. I'm going on vague memory.
Bro, because you got to think about who they lost. So, for example, Kobe Bryant was going to go to UNC.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, like, so, you know what I'm saying? Kevin Garnett, they lost Kevin Garnett. And all the people that, and like, yeah, there's a few people that skipped college that were like, didn't pan out. But the people who did, the Kobe's, the Kevin Garnett's, the Dwight Howard's, the NCAA, and you're talking about rookies of the year, instant playoff success type players. And they're like, but we just lost out on all that damn money for real. Yeah. So yeah, it was a conspiracy.
Yeah. To get back to my other point, because you broke news, I didn't know he was part of that. But this is one of the reasons why I got away from sports commentary, because I heard Stephen A. Smith during an early time of his career, and I'm like, okay, this guy's definitely not about to last. Like, he's like the worst commentator I ever heard in my life, like ever. Yeah. And then years went on, and he only got bigger. And you guys understand the horror? I was thinking like, okay, this guy a year at most, and then this guy becomes a superstar celebrity, giving his opinions about combat sports. Oh, you in my domain now, brother. You guys understand that?
Nick, you're an independent. You know, you're an independent media. I don't know why you're surprised by that. We see this all the time. What are you talking about? Like, oh yeah, he'll be done tomorrow. Oh, okay, he has 1 million subscribers now, and he's even stupider than he was 2 years ago. How did this happen? Yes, that's what happens. Yeah,
I'm like, okay. I ignore all the sports commentary because combat sports is my domain. Okay, you know what I mean? I dabble in basketball, I dabble in international football, soccer. You know what I mean? But I love combat sports, UFC, boxing. I watched the fight with Ryan Garcia was fucking amazing last weekend.
Yeah,
I even love pro wrestling because I admire the athleticism and the skill it takes to cut promo. Like anything combat sports, I fucking love. I'm like, all right, I can just ignore this guy. Then all of a sudden, he's giving breakdown on UFC fights now, saying the dumbest things I ever heard in my life. All of a sudden, he's talking about boxing. You can't ignore this guy. And I'm like, okay.
Who was it that, really quick, I don't want to interrupt, but who was it that he said he went into the fight and he looked like he was unprepared? Like he didn't, I don't remember what fight it was.
I just know this man has never given a smart sports fighting breakdown. He has given the worst fighting breakdowns I've ever seen, like almost like your drunk uncle talking about fighting. The overall point I'm making like a long point here. he was commentating basketball. I avoided him, like, because I just avoid things that annoy me. I would tune you out. Okay, I'm not watching basketball commentary no more. It's ruined. Then he get into combat sport. Okay, I'm fucking done with him now. Now he's getting into politics. So the fact, and there are all these black people that was upset, and now, and I know I went very long because this is my reaction to your original question you asked a long time ago. But
I mean, it's important context. It's very important context to know.
Yeah. So there was all these black people upset because Stephen A. Smith said stuff about politics. You guys realize I'm more upset at you guys for listening to Stephen A. Smith than I am at Stephen A. Smith, right? Why the fuck? And I had a tweet where I said it's like a few weeks ago when he was in the news. I'm like, bro, the fact that you guys listen to this guy for politics is already a nail. Because I don't blame him. Of course, he's branching out. He's doing his damn thing. How much?
Bro, hey, that's fact. He's like, y'all dumb enough to take him seriously. Y'all.
I'm not talking about you, Niko, but I'm talking about his.
I know what you mean.
Base. It's talking about his consumer base. It's your fault that we got to deal with this guy, and the fact that he believed that he's confident to talk about politics, because everything I see him talk about politics related is just as dumb as sports. Now, regarding this segment, his analysis on regarding why black people may be more sympathetic to Trump, that is about as good as it's gonna get, and even that, not even a great analysis like compared to what we say, because I would say there's a lot more you got to add to the table, because we actually have a standard of low expectations for him. For him even saying that, we're like, wait, what?
Yeah,
you're not gonna actually explain how black people, majority of them don't support either party because most of them are disenfranchised. There's only a small sliver, around about 50-60%, that actually vote Democrat. Actually, less than that, like 40% that vote Democrat. There's a large, complicated analysis that go way past Stephen A. Smith brain that we say all the time on your channel and RBN. But because the expectations for him is so low, even him saying this, people are like, yeah, that's pretty decent. So that's my very long take on that.
It was decent. Like it's about hell, I can't even say a surface level. It's a little bit, but it was actually probably the most profound political analysis that Stephen A. has ever given. That's a pretty damn sad thing to say, but like, yeah, it ain't gonna get better than that. But what he probably should have said, like, first of all, let me just say, because Stephen A. is actually not good at receiving criticism, right? The moment that his black card gets checked, this man freaks out. It happens every time. It happened with the Kaepernick situation, happened with the Kyrie Irving situation. It's happening now. Like, he got to do a whole response. Well, I don't give a damn. Like, oh man, I had people that didn't like what I said. Okay, welcome to fucking politics, bro. Like, yeah, you're gonna say some shit that people don't agree with. My thing is, in this moment, this is where you educate people. Because what you could have done is said, well, here's why people feel like this. And here is the acts. So, for example, this isn't a trend that only recently started. This actually started during the last election, where Trump increased his voter demographics amongst every single base, including black people. Don't get mad at me because of the numbers. These are the facts. He could have done that, but now to me, what it makes it look like is oh no, you're doing the Sean Hannity show because you wanted clout. You said what you said because you wanted clout. And now that it's backfired on you, you don't actually have a legitimate, genuine, logical analysis to challenge the people who are challenging you. So instead of staying on business, you're backtracking. That means you don't need to be doing this. Because that just shows me, like you said, just about a sports analysis. You weren't doing it because you actually have a genuine political analysis. You were doing it to get followers for your podcast. You were doing it to get more views. You were doing it to get one of your little late night positions on Fox News or CNN. He was riding that train where, like, Michael Rappaport now is jumping on the Trump train. A lot of popular celebrities have switched and left Biden, and a lot of them have went to Trump for various reasons because they see how popular he is. But last time they hated him because it was popular to hate him, and they like Biden because all the celebrities like Biden. So you don't have any conviction, and that shit might work in sports, but it ain't gonna work here. Who knows? It could, but if you're gonna backtrack like this, if you backtracking every time you get called out, that's what's gonna happen. People are going to be like, why would I watch you if you don't even stand on business? You just going on and saying whatever you say and then saying it was taken out of context. It wasn't taken out of context. They may have misunderstood you, but it wasn't taken out of context. You did say that.
Yeah. But once again, it's this completely different thing. And I think more than anything, he don't really care that people are upset at his opinion. He's a business person. He don't want to lose his revenue share. He don't want to lose potential customers. And whenever people freak out about his comments, that's what he think about. That was, oh man, I got to put out this comment so people will continue to watch my show. So
yeah,
I will never understand him. Like watching. I guess it's like the same argument you can make with Cenk Uygur. Watching the rise of these people is so baffling because I saw the rise of Stephen A. Smith happen in slow motion, fam. Yeah. And I was like, no, stop, guys, please. Oh, God. They really about to make this guy famous. They did. They did. It's a race to true mediocrity and
It's a race to mediocrity. Yeah.
Yeah. And
ain't a meritocracy, it's a mediocricy. There you go. Yeah. That ain't get down the shirt, man. This shit ain't a meritocracy, it's a mediocrity. Bro, and that like with whenever they fired Max Kellerman and his excuse, because he did the same, bro. It's funny because he actually did the same thing that Candace Owens did. Ben Shapiro did when he fired Candace Owens. When he was like, I don't want to talk about it, but let me go on this tour around the sports media world and talk about it. Yeah, man, we just weren't clicking. Like he's like, oh, did y'all numbers fall? No, actually they were higher than ever. Oh, well, we are like YouTube. Nope, they were higher too. It's just the chemistry was falling, and you could see in the audience feeling like that. No, the audience was saying, damn, why you keep cutting Max off? Damn, why you keep talking to Max like you crazy? Damn, why you keep talking to Max like he didn't graduate from Columbia University? Why? Like Stephen A., it was very obvious that he was intimidated by Max because like for like little shit that you wouldn't, once again, it goes back to his little weird not black enough complex that he has. Anything hip hop, Max knew all about it. Anytime it was time to advocate accurately for black issues with black athletes, Max could give you the context. He would advocate on the right side, and he would always be pro-athlete, whereas Stephen A. would generally be pro-organization. And sometimes Max would be and step in and have to educate Stephen A. on black history. Stephen A. for black, like HBCU. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but didn't he speak out against the Cowboys owner when I'm trying to remember there was a big scandal?
Whenever he was the picket line, not the picket line, whenever they were integrating schools and Jim, what the hell is his name?
Yeah,
Jerry Jones was like on the white side shouting down yeah.
So he was shown to support racist policies, and it was dug up, and all these black athletes, a lot of people were speaking up against Jerry Jones, and you want to know who was there to defend him? Stephen A. He was like, he's my good friend. What's happening to him is unfair. It's a pattern of behavior where he's an institutionalist that will always side with institutions over the people. And I would never understand how someone like this gets support. Like, he's such a bootlicking.
Yeah,
once again, the institution style thinking really rubs me the wrong way. I will never understand how people like that.
Bro, and I can see, and I used to try to explain it to my friends, like, because I could, probably because of what we do, I could see what was happening from a mile. I'm like, he doesn't like Max because Max is way smarter than him, and it's intimidating to him. He's supposed to be the star of the show, and Max is hitting him with arguments and logic that he can't process in real time. And it's instead of just giving Max his flowers, he literally attacks him. Oh, you want to use these big words because you went to Columbia University. I'm like, that's a weird insult. I don't know. Mind you, Stephen A. always tries to use these goddamn scramble words to try and prove how smart he is. And it's like, but he came at Max all the time, and then Max gets fired from the show, and he does end up on another show, but he got fired from that too, or the whole show got canceled because of ESPN and Disney firing all those people. But my point was, like, he then goes and gets Shannon Sharp, right? Which was probably smart because he knew Shannon was more popular than him. He's like, if he isn't more popular now, he's going to be, and he is at this point. Shannon started 2 podcasts after Stephen A. Smith started his podcast. Both of those podcasts are blowing his podcast out the water. Both of them. And every time Shannon comes on First Take, he's blowing him out the water too. But it's different when he can say, oh, well, Shannon's a former football player. Shannon was already doing this. But when it's a white boy who didn't play sports, who kind of came from a similar background as far as they were both journalists, they were both radio show hosts, then they both became analysts, and Max is actually truthfully, he was better and more entertaining. Stephen A didn't want that. It's different if Shannon does it. Now he's because if you got clout, oh boy, you know Stephen A. He'll grab onto that clout, boy. Oh, hold on tight. He like, take me with you. I was with my buddy Jared Jones. I was sitting courtside with so-and-so. I was talking on the phone. I was sending the text message to like, bro, we don't really care. We don't really care. I don't know why. Like he's always looking for validation. And so, but the reason I bring that up is because that's what happens in independent media. Y'all might not know it, but like that is that type of what like Nick said, the mediocrity. The meritocracy of mediocrity is basically what happens in independent media. And you get all these people who actually don't believe in anything, have zero conviction, but yet and still they end up rising to the top. So you just got to be careful about who you do and do not promote. Really quick, Nick, I got to talk to you about this last topic just really fast because I found it interesting that this was even a thing considering what's happened in Pakistan in the last year or so. So, yesterday, it came out that Joe Biden and his administration are actually going to sanction Pakistan if they decide to work with Iran and import and buy oil straight from Iran, who is, of course, their neighbor. Now, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong once again. Didn't we just overthrow their government? That just happened, right? We did just overthrow Imran Khan. I think they put him in jail. So the government that's currently in place in Pakistan is actually the puppet government of the United States. So now we're in a situation where the United States power internationally is waning so much that y'all can't even have a year turnover after overthrowing a government. And y'all puppets, like without y'all puppets saying, yeah, man. So appreciate the help. Anyway, we about to go over here. We don't really trust y'all. That's crazy to me. They're even so beyond that, they're actually going to do they also agreed to push a bilateral trade agreement of a roughly that would be in the amount of about $10 billion between Pakistan and Iran. What's your take on that?
So liberals claim that we got to save democracy by supporting Biden, who's demanding other countries make sovereign decisions based on what's best in the United States. How is that democracy? So Pakistan is not allowed to make decisions that benefit their country. You guys know they've been going around acting like the mafia to all countries, especially since the start. You can make an argument they always done this, right? But let's just keep it simple and say the start of the Ukraine war. They've been going around to Africa saying, you better not sign an agreement with Russia. That's why Nigeria kicked them out. Nigeria was like, who the fuck?
Or China, don't forget China.
Yeah, China too. That's the important thing to add. Yeah. They're like, come on, stop building relationship with China. We demand. Who the fuck are we? Not our sellout grandfathers and parents who sold out before. This is a new age in the global South. And honestly, a lot of people, they were victims of propaganda. A lot of them did believe. I know it sounds ridiculous, but there were a lot of people who fell for it in the global South that fell for the George W. Bush like propaganda, especially during the War on Terror. I still remember it. Like a lot of people fall for it. They made agreements with the United States they shouldn't have made. Nigeria
they didn't know. It was hard. It would have been way harder to know that the United States was actually funding the terrorism that they were making agreements to fight against. Yeah, it would have been way hard to figure it out.
Yeah, to be fair to them, absolutely. So, but now we're seeing the global South, and we're seeing these countries wake up in a way that I thought would probably take longer, to be honest. Because when you look at the criticism that a lot of people have of these previously colonized powers, that they was too friendly with the people who colonized them. Now you have Nigeria, you have these African countries that talking about flexing their sovereignty. We have criticism. I'm gonna have criticism of Lula, but he's talking about making a South African currency. That's why they took the dollar as well. That you have all this talk of replacing the West that didn't exist before because of this thuggish behavior of Washington. And it's crazy how much the ruling class really screwed up. And I don't think we don't put enough. I'll speak for myself. I don't think I'll put enough emphasis on this because obviously, yes, as anti-war activists, we did a lot to change public opinion. But remember what I said earlier, these people are not the empire builders that passed them the torch. Like when they bully countries like this, when they make moves like this, it may seem like they can get away with it, but it has long-term effects and consequences. And we are seeing the long-term consequences with the rise of BRICS, the crease in United States influence around the world. The fact that you even have to tell Pakistan this is like a reflection of them. Like, bro, you don't have the influence that you used to have. The last point I want to make on this is what I said during my response. You guys see how Biden is threatening sanctions. And one of the biggest failures of the anti-war movement and the left, and this is something I'm glad that people like you, Convo Couch, and many other people focused on, is the crimes of the U.S. sanctions regime. Something I've been reading and studying upon a lot over the last 3 years at being a citizen journal. One of my leading topics, because people made a mistake of separating sanctions from war. Like, we don't have to do lesser to evilism. We don't have to compare which one is worse, hot war and cold war. It's just war. We need to treat sanctions as the act of war they are, because the people who are impacted are the poor, working class people in these countries. Last thought, with this new threat of sanctions on Pakistan, you guys realize that we sanction around 1/3 of the world's population, right?
Bro, I did not know that. I didn't know that.
And, Niko, you know, I thought the number was 1/4. 1/4. Then I fact checked myself, and I was like, "Oh shit, it's actually 1/3." I posted a receipt on Twitter. So, do liberals and do Western chauvinists realize that we are sanctioning 1/3 of the population? At what point do you guys start asking the question? Maybe we're the bad guys if you had to sanction that many people. But go ahead,
Fire
Niko.
nation ass country. We're the fire nation. That's what happened. I said, yes, in response to this tweet, I said every single time a country tries to improve itself without involving the United States, the U.S. tries to punish them. This is exactly why the U.S. is losing all of its influence. Who wants to be in an abusive relationship in perpetuity with a nation ran by self-serving psychopaths? That's it. Bro, it's not even, but $10 billion to the United States is nothing. It's nothing, really. It's whatever. But what they're really doing is punishing you for having the audacity to build a coalition that was not U.S. sanctioned with an enemy or adversary of the U.S. And what's crazy is, like, they don't even think about it in the reverse. If you actually cared about the well, which we know is not the case, but if you actually cared about the well-being of Pakistan, do you understand the consequence of them not allying with Iran when you're a neighbor and it's about to be a war to pop off in the region?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's like, we got to do a deal now, because whenever it starts getting hot in there and Iran has started making some business decisions, like, yeah, we know that the U.S. likes to play with y'all. So here's what's going to happen. We going to take y'all over. Y'all going to have our government, and y'all going to do what the hell we want to, because we know if we don't get involved with y'all right now militarily using hard power and soft power, the United States will then control you and use your, because they've been known to use Pakistan to launch military operations in the past. So, like, it just makes more sense it's even worth the sanctions, right? It's worth the sanctions if it's going to create an allyship with your damn neighbor, who is the strongest military power and financial power you can make an argument for in the region. Like, financial power in the sense, like, they could actually influence military outcomes in countries, in destabilized nations like Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and all those countries that Israel's waging war in. So yeah, no, it's insane to me that you literally, but that just, once again, just shows you just how much influence the U.S. does not have anymore. They don't have it, because you just overthrew this. I remember watching a rant by George Galloway not even 6 or 7 months ago about the treatment of Imran Khan in Pakistan, how the U.S. government overthrew them, how they did a coup out there.
I remember a hotspot you made. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I remember you making a hotspot about
this.
Go ahead. But
no, I feel like I did.
One of us did. That long ago. I swear to God, one of us did. Go ahead.
The turnaround was like, damn, bro, y'all can't even y'all can't keep y'all puppet governments loyal for a year? Not even a year. They're like, yep, no business decisions out here, cuz we can't, y'all can't win in Ukraine, you can't win in Niger, you can't win in Burkina Faso, can't win. Y'all not even really, like, Israel, who is y'all really the only reason y'all are maintaining power in this region, is flipped on you. Saudi Arabia is not working with Yemen instead of working against them and supplying terrorists to the region. Like, y'all can't beat Yemen in the Red Sea. It's Yemen. Like, y'all acting like Yemen was supposed to be a piece of cake. Getting your ass whooped by Yemen. You got your ass kicked out of Iraq, basically. You can't overthrow Assad in Syria. Why would we risk war and conflict with Iran when y'all can't handle the other shit y'all dealing with? We're good. Like, we're good. No, go ahead. Sanction the hell out of us. We don't care. Go ahead. That's how they feel. So, and I don't blame them. Really quick, one more thing, because I actually saw y'all covering this And I really, really loved your analysis on this Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan interview specifically, but the part where he was talking about getting them the politicians coming out and admitting, like, yeah, man, like we're kind of all blackmailed, like how he had a guy in the kitchen, we're saying like, yo, man, like, yeah, all of us terrified, can't do nothing about it, and we all know it. So I want to go ahead and show y'all a little bit of this clip, and I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna show it to y'all from RBN's channel because Joe Rogan don't need any more views. So
members of Congress are terrified of the intel agencies. I'm not guessing at that. They've told me that, including people on the intel committee, including people who run the intel committee, the people whose job it is to oversee and keep in line these enormous secretive agencies whose budgets we can't even know. They're black budgets. They're the parents. The agencies are the children. They're afraid of the agencies. That's not compatible with democracy. Democracy is a really simple system, even representative democracy like ours. The people rule. They do so through elections. They express their preference through voting. They send their people to the capital city to run the government on their behalf. Whenever you have unelected people who are not accountable to anyone making the biggest decisions, you don't have a democracy. You have something else, another system. I would call it a tyranny or whatever you want to call it. It's not a democracy. So that's like super obvious. It's playing out in front of everyone and no one cares and no one does anything about it. And I think the reason is because they're threatened. And if you look at the committee chairmen who allow this shit to happen year after year, they're all, and I don't know, people say, oh, they're compromised or being blackmailed or whatever. I don't have evidence of that, but I know them and they all have things to hide. I know that for a fact. And so it's not a stretch of imagination to imagine that, you know, some committee chairman who's allowing warrantless spying on Americans to continue or whatever abuse they're allowing, knowing fully or hiding the truth about UAPs, ignoring the UAP Disclosure Act of 2023. Why are they doing that? It's not impossible to imagine that some guy with a drinking problem or a weird sex life, and that's very common up there. That's why they're doing it. Because they don't want to be exposed. I don't have evidence of that. I don't have proof of that.
Right.
But that's not a crazy thing to assume that could be happening. And I said to somebody, a very powerful person the other day in a conversation in my kitchen, an elected official, holds a really senior position, a very famous person. I was going crazy. I was so mad about all this stuff and about the warrantless spying and about the funding for these insane wars. And I said to the guy who serves in one of the legislative bodies, I got so mad my dogs were afraid. They're like, well, why are you yelling? Because I don't yell at home. But I was like, all these people are controlled. They're all, you know, got weird sex lives and all these things are hiding and they're being blackmailed by the intel agencies. And he said, and I'm quoting, I know.
Nick, you during this stream actually brought up a great point about how it's so bad now that they're saying the quiet part out loud, referring to Mike Johnson, right? About how this bill with Ukraine and Israel passed because a lot of people probably rightfully have questions. Like the same party, once again, that ran on fighting against and challenging Biden's war in Ukraine, the Democrats' war in Ukraine. The same Mike Johnson who only has power because what? Because Kevin McCarthy was ousted. Why? Because they said he was doing too much of what Biden wanted. So they wanted to know. You saw a clip, a news clip where they wanted to know, well, what's the difference between Mike Johnson then as a Republican and Mike Johnson now? And what did you hear?
This is why I do propaganda report and why I actually push back on some people, because I do think if you have an analytical mind, there is value in watching corporate media, not to get news, but to know what our enemies is saying. So I watched one segment of Morning Joe where I was shocked, like you said, that they said the quiet part out loud. They said there's a difference between when you're just a backbencher, because Mike Johnson, you just speak out against the Ukraine war. He spoke out against FISA and unwarranted spying programs. And they said when you're a House Speaker, though, it's different because you get intelligence briefings. And I think it was Donnie Deutsch. I remember it to the T where they said it's different because you get briefing from the intelligence agencies. And then they tell you that if you don't support Ukraine funding because of this, you're the reason for national security failure. They know they got media plans. And it's definitely highly implied that, hey, man, if you hold up this funding for Ukraine, we're going to blame you. You know, we write the history books, right? We're going to write in the history books that Mike Johnson is, even though we know it's bullshit, Russia's going to win anyway, right? When Russia wins, they tell them that if you don't do this funding, we're going to say you're the reason why Russia win. You will go down in infamy, like as the guy who. So everyone is told this, and they don't want to be the guy who caused. They don't want to be ostracized from their class. They don't want to be made an enemy of from their class. So after
heckled everywhere they go in public, yeah.
But you will forever be known as the reason why, quote unquote, Russia win. They don't live in fact-based reality. It's the reality the intelligence agencies and the establishment serve. So with this threat and this looming threat of knowing that not only will they ruin his career, but any future prospects of him being a lobbyist, hell, they might fuck around and ruin their children's career. Because this is what I think happened to Bernie. Because Bernie cares about his grandchildren. I think this is a missing element. A lot of people forget with Bernie Sanders. One of the reasons why Bernie sold out in his, well, let's keep it simple, in his 70s, right? Like in his 70s, he completely, utterly sold out. Let's keep it simple, just for a second. Why would he do that late in life? Because he had grandchildren. They will retaliate against him. They will not get opportunities. So it's the threat of retaliation against you, your family, the way the establishment will go after you. Now that you Speaker of the House, that's what leads Mike Johnson to flip. And now there are people I've seen talking about this. Like there are a lot of people who supported Mike Johnson. I've seen like the Republican analysis of this. Like Tucker Carlson is the smartest among the people in the small pool. You know what I mean? Because they are just now realizing this corruption. Because there are people like, man, Mike Johnson said he was for Ukraine. Now he's against it. What happened? And you see these right-wingers on Twitter. What happened? Of course this happens. This is what happens in our system. The politicians are bought off and paid for. You can do these stunts when you're a Georgia congressperson in the red district like Marjorie Taylor Greene. You can do these stunts when you're Matt Gaetz and you give him permission to. But once you ever get true power, that's when they get your ass in line and you truly see who's in charge. And I don't know why people don't see how problematic that is. But Niko, I actually do have to run very soon. I got to do distance. I got to join. But I'll pass it right back to you. I just won't stay for my analysis on that. But go ahead.
That's why I had you 100%, man. It's basically the moral of the story for that one is people, them intelligence breeding ain't got shit to do with intelligence. It's just ain't got shit to do with intelligence. They're telling you it would be intelligent of you to do exactly what the hell we say. Otherwise, these are the consequences. This is everything we have on you. This is your search history. We know where you were at last week. We know where your wife is at right now. We know what your kids are. We know what their aspirations are. We know that your kids just applied to Columbia, Harvard, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, that's what that's really about. And once again, it's that part is missing as far as the Kevin McCarthy, Mike Johnson connection. It's like, hold up. Why did we get on Kevin McCarthy again? Wasn't it partially because of this shit? And then what does Mike Johnson do? Works to pass this. And so what was the point of ousting Kevin McCarthy? Because it was a part of the act. It's like, damn, okay, so if we're going to win midterms, we have to pretend as if we're doing, and if we want to win 2024, we have to pretend as if the Republican Party is working against Biden's agenda. But the reality is we're not going to allow someone to take the place of Kevin McCarthy, who isn't going to pass the same agenda that we want, or else we would just keep in Kevin McCarthy and just take the hit. But it's a dance, it's theater. At the end of the day, like Nick said, he is right. He is right about that. Once you become the speaker, it's different. They can throw everything on you, and that includes your family. So, Nick, man, tell everybody where they can find you at.
Yeah, make sure you guys check out RBN Nick at Night. That's why I stream. We got a lot of great content across our network, across channel. But if you look for me specifically, I usually stream Tuesday, Thursday evening. Sometimes I do like breaking live streams that you just gotta check your notifications for. My next stream I have planned, I will be with my brother Q Anthony Ali at Nick at Night on Thursday. I'm also gonna be co-hosting Due Distance on Rumble here very, very soon. I'm always down to join your channel. I love the work that you guys are doing. I love working with Hotspot. I legitimately do. I love the work that you guys are doing. I feel honored to be working with you guys. So anytime you want me on the channel, I'm always down. Always great to be joining with you. I'm sorry I had to cut out a little bit early because, I can do this all day, but I got to join my brother do this as well. But anytime you want, brother, I'm down. Anytime.
Appreciate you. Hey, I'm going to read something. Go ahead, Nick, man. Get up out of here. I'll talk to you a little bit. I wanted to cover these super chats real quick before I get up out of here. Stephen Hayes said Max Blumenthal can read minds. Yeah, boy, it feel like it sometimes. I swear. He always know exactly where to be at. Stephen Hayes again. Nick on Kit Cabello, a video clip of you on white background looked like 3D and scared me out of my consumerist genocide compliant slumber. Eric Huzo, it's difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on his not understanding it. Upton Sinclair, brilliant quote, perfectly describes Stephen A. Smith. And a lot of these people really, but Eric again, awesome background and color scheme. Appreciate you. Old Crow, thank you very much for the super chat. I know you all won't be able to do it much, but if you have the time, I'm here for some sports talk or sports talk panel hosted by you both. Hey, man, like I'd be wanting to talk sports, and like it is actually for me more of a time thing. But I hope to get some sports in for the playoffs this year. So we're gonna see, man. I'm gonna try my hardest, and we'll see how that works out. But you know, it's just, boy, with the baby in the house, you never know. Trash Panda 82. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate the super chat. Make sure y'all like the video. Make sure you subscribe if you have not yet. You can support the show by becoming a Patreon supporter. That link is in the description. You can donate through Cash App. You can become a premium subscriber on Rockfin. I know I said I'm gonna get the subscriptions for YouTube together. I promise y'all. Once again, baby, I'm trying, y'all. I'm doing everything. I'm solo dolo out here, so I'm doing my best. I'm gonna get it right though. You can also donate Ethereum. I have Ethereum, Bitcoin links in there, or addresses in there as well. You can subscribe to me on Rumble, subscribe to me on Rockfin, and also obviously follow me on Twitter. Follow us at Hotspot. And go and retweet, man. You know, we constantly have to break through the algorithm. Every now and then they like to censor us. So we get to the algorithms by you guys retweeting us, you guys following us, making sure that you're subscribed still, making sure that you're still following us. Other than that, people, hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for tuning into this live stream podcast of For the People podcast. And always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.